Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the channel, Caring Connections with Faith. I am the faith in that Caring Connections part. It's lovely to have you all with me this morning. Let me just make sure that everything is working okay here. It sure seems like it might be. Imagine that. Okay, guys, so what are we doing here? What am I doing here? Why are we here? Why are you watching this or showing up to the live stream or watching the replay or whatever it is we're doing? So, real quick, for those of you who may not know, my name is Faith. It's my real name. And not just some made up name that I made so it would sound good on YouTube. It is really my name. And I am a person like you. I don't have a PhD in anything. I have a bachelor's degree, but it is not in psychology, even though I do love psychology, really. And I'm thinking about toying with the idea of going back to school and getting a degree in psychology, but that's not yet. Right now, I'm just a normal human being that has been through a ton of stuff and feels the importance of people walking through their stuff together, not alone. So that's the point of this channel, Caring Connections. I want to have a place, a platform where, not me, but us, we build something together that is a connection that people can show up just as they are and be not okay. And that is okay. It's okay to not be okay. That's the whole point of today's stream. It's okay to not be okay. So I have 3 points today, and we're going to go through them a little bit because, we've talked about grief a couple of times on the channel now, and I think that it's a subject, a topic that everyone has experienced in their life at some point. It might be different levels. It might be the loss of something like a job, or the loss of something that you hold dear, maybe a family heirloom. Or, I was talking with my daughter yesterday about the grief I feel in losing our home. That home that I built with Habitat for Humanity, that I poured hundreds of hours into, that I physically placed that front window in to my home. Like all of those memories of building, it wasn't just I hired someone, check, and they did all the work and I showed up and I moved in. That house was my blood, sweat, and tears, and not just mine. My friends, my family who showed up, and we worked together to build something, just like I want to do here, working together to build something beautiful and strong and vibrant and real. So that house is more to me than just a roof over my head or a legacy that I would have passed on to my children. That house is a living, breathing thing of hope and love. I on Google Maps, I'm crazy emotional today. I've already been bawling in Panera even this morning. Crap. So the house on Google Maps, I changed the name. I added a label, and it said the house that love built, because that's what it was. That house was built with so much love, and people would come, and when the house was built with insulated concrete forms, ICF it's called. And so it's kind of like Legos, and you would attach these pieces of styrofoam really together, and in between the two pieces of styrofoam were like webs of like some material that when you poured the concrete down in there, you built the whole wall up just like Legos, and then you poured the concrete inside of it, and they stood, and it provided insulation and stability for the concrete to grab onto. So basically your house was indestructible by the end. But while the walls were there, before the drywall went on, there was just all of this styrofoam. So anytime that people came to build the house, they would write messages of love or scripture or encouragement. So, sorry. In every room of that house, behind the drywall, all these messages of love. Thankfully, I took pictures of them all. I have an album that I created that has all of those moments and all of the pictures of people who showed up to help build the house. And I have pictures, page after page after page, of all the love that's in the walls of that house. And it's so hard when we had to sell it because of my health, because of the heart attack, and then the following 2 years of in and out of the hospital, culminating in the open heart surgery, which then led to further complications and the PTSD, and still not being able to work and just not being able to afford the mortgage. And we went into foreclosure 3 times and I was able to like scrape us out of it each time. And then we got a letter from the insurance company that they wanted to come and do an inspection. And I was very certain that we were not going to pass that inspection, mainly because of our air conditioning system. It needed some work. It was still functioning, but I knew that it was not up to the standard it needed to be. And that was the catalyst to like, how are we going to continue to keep fighting for this house? And so at that point, the best choice for our family was to take our hands off and let it go. And I was waiting for the disability to come through, but it just wasn't fast enough. My disability journey, with all the documentation and all the medical visits they want you to go through and all of the things from start to finish, took 3 years. And I ended up I was denied twice, and I ended up having to get an attorney and fight. And I had to go before the judge. And it was very stressful and very traumatic. But in the end, I was able to get a favorable decision and get the disability. But by that point, we had already had to let go of the house. And I think I tell myself this: I had to sell it as is to a flipper. So I didn't get market value. I didn't get the equity out of it. I just had to let it go. And so the flipper flipped it and sold it to a man. And I think if that man had loved the house as much as we did, and been able to live there and thrive there, I think I would have probably been better than I am. But as it turns out, because I was the neighborhood cat lady, I had cats inside the house, outside the house. Sorry, there's a siren going by. Oof, duh. Sirens are really hard on my PTSD. For those of you who don't know, my PTSD is medical related. So anything like that, sirens, beeping noises that mimic like medical machines, all of that stuff really triggers my PTSD, and my body gets flooded with the cortisol, and I have to like really try hard to like be okay in these moments. Take a drink of water. That'll help. So we had to sell the house. The man bought it after the flipper was done with it. It's beautiful, by the way. When the flipper, no, not the flipper. So let's continue the story. Back up. So the man bought it, and because I was a neighborhood cat lady and had cats inside the house, outside the house, like just cats everywhere, the cats literally thought they owned that house. And so when he moved in, even though it had been cleaned and sterilized and all the things with all the cats around it, his allergies were really bad. He was very sensitive to cats. And so he couldn't live in the house. He was there for a little bit, and then he had to he tried to put it on the market because of his own health, and that didn't work. While it was on the market, I was able to go and walk through it and relive a lot of those wonderful memories. And so now the house is actually vacant. He was not able to sell it for whatever reason, and it sits vacant and empty and lonely, and the cats live there. And it's one of my biggest sources of regret and pain, and also one of the most peaceful places I know. So I think I've mentioned before that I often go there when I'm in Tarpon Springs. I go there and I sit there. I sit on the sidewalk across. I don't sit on the property. It's not my property. It's in foreclosure right now, but it's not my property. I sit on the sidewalk because my neighbor still lives there across the street, and he loves me and I love him and his wife. And I sit on the sidewalk and the cats come and sit on my lap, and it's just a place of peace for me still. But it's also sad. It's so sad to me to see my beautiful house just empty and you know, in a way broken itself. And I still pray for some sort of miracle that seems impossible, right? It's just wishful thinking that somehow that house could come back to our family. But I mean, you know, it's not realistic. I've had my realtor that helped sell the house go back through and try to find, you know, like some sort of loophole or some way that we could afford it, and it's just, you know, it's not going to happen. I can't afford the house. There's no way. On disability, we can't afford the house. Okay. But it doesn't stop my heart from longing for it and longing for the good times and the memories that I made there with my children. When I was there the last time, I just walked up the driveway because there's like stickers on the window. I was trying to figure out what the stickers were, and it was like it's part of the foreclosure proceedings. But just off the side of the driveway, I saw a little shard of plastic, and I bent over, and it was actually the security sign that we had just off the driveway. It was there for years. Our ADT sign. I don't even think the company is called ADT anymore. Anyway, there was a little piece of that sign left. So I picked it up and I have it in the van with me. But yeah, it's a lot of grief. And most of you know that there are lots of other sources of grief that I have been trying to sift through in the last few weeks. The loss of my 2-year relationship, the loss of my 10-year friend Maria, and I don't know that I have mentioned in my relationship, we experienced a miscarriage during that relationship, and some days the grief for my little Melissa Grace is overwhelming. You know, it's a lot of grief to carry at once. And we talked about the stages of grief, and we talked about the revolving nature of grief. That, you know, grief is not a straight line that you just check. You check all the boxes and you're done. Whoop, done with that. Moving on. That's not how grief works. So let's talk a little bit about grief today. So my first point is when we're talking about the feelings, we want to demystify the wave that happens. So step number 1 is when the wave of feelings come, to just let them and give them a seat at the table of your life. So I think often we are afraid. I know that I was afraid a lot of times. I was afraid that if I let myself break down, that the grief would be so overwhelming that I would not be able to ever recover. And I would just be a bawling mess forever, because that's how bad the pain felt. That if I let it start, I wouldn't be able to stop it. That the tide and the wave of grief would just overwhelm me and I would be done for. So, like I said, I had kind of a rough day yesterday. My stress was very high yesterday, and I was trying hard to manage it the best I could. And so this morning I woke up and I felt like I had slept okay, but I hadn't been sleeping okay the last couple of days because of the 4th of July and the fireworks late at night and all of those things. So I was already kind of in a deficit as far as sleep was concerned. And so I woke up a little exhausted, this morning. And I think that I was not able to keep regulating the emotions that were coming. So it doesn't help that there's constant reminders, right? When we lose something or someone, life still goes on for everyone else. And my partner drove a blue car, okay, a certain model blue car, a specific blue. And when you're dealing with grief, I think your brain reaches, for that place of safety and those feelings of, so it starts to see things that you may not normally see. And so it sure seems to me, whether it's true or not, it sure seems to me that everywhere I look, I see this certain blue car that my partner drives. Or, some other make version of it that looks almost identical. And it's the identical blue to his vehicle. And so I see that vehicle over and over and over again. And every time I see it, every time, like I haven't had a moment where a blue car like that drives by me and my heart doesn't leap. Because even if you know with everything in you that this period of not being with that person is best, is for the best, it's going to be good, it doesn't stop the pain. It doesn't stop the moments of missing them desperately, of longing for them, of remembering the good times that you had together. That does not stop. You can't just, you can, maybe some people can, I don't know. I can't seem to. I don't want to. That's the truth. I don't want to. Because I want to be real and authentic. I want to be the best version of me that I can be. And part of that is working through this pain. Sorry. Being the best version of me means learning and growing and not being stagnant and rigid in how I think. And that only comes, I believe, it comes the best through hard experience. Okay, so we might be live again. Let me see. Okay. Let me just... Alright. I think we're live again. Oh, sorry guys. I have this plastic case for my phone, and if I leave it on, because I'm running Streamlabs, because we don't have 50 subscribers still, I have to jump through all the hoops to try and make the stream work, because I can't use the YouTube app to run seamlessly. So that means I have to use different apps to try and get a workaround. So I'm using Streamlabs, but Streamlabs is very intensive on my phone. And so inevitably, if I do not take the case off, the phone overheats. You know, you can't think of everything. It's been one of those days. All right, so let's keep going. We were at the wave of grief. So I wake up this morning, the tears are just falling. In the midst of, you know, the tears, I'm like, okay, I am going to continue to do the next right thing, which is what I try to do in these situations. And the next right thing in the morning after, you know, like I get up and I wash and I put on my deodorant and, you know, whatever, brush my teeth, is to go to mass, because that's what I do in the morning. And so off I drive, bawling the whole way to mass. I'm just bawling. Ay, ay, ay. And so I get to mass, and I was able to pull myself together enough, put on a little makeup and get into mass. And then again, after mass, I go to Panera and I have my coffee and I write my Bible scriptures and whatever. And in Panera, same thing, tears start. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is nuts. It's embarrassing. You know, like it's very funny, because two different people were having birthday celebrations around me. And I think, that wasn't easy either. There's another blue car just driving by. It's a lot today, guys. Not gonna lie, it's a lot today. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm in Panera. I'm crying away in Panera. I'm trying not to be like obvious. I'm trying not to sob out loud and all that stuff. Just let the tears come and catch them, on my napkin and whatever. Because that's what we do here. We keep it real. And so the thing is that, like I said, I believe with everything in me that tears are not a problem. Tears are an emotional pressure valve. And when the pressure builds up to some extent that it's not sustainable anymore, the tears have to come out to be that pressure release, because if you don't, bad things will happen. That's the way our bodies are designed on purpose, so that you have to let them out to depressurize our bodies and our system and be able to continue on. So that's number one. The feelings get to have a seat at the table. Okay? So the feelings get to have a seat at the table. However, number two is about the gap. There's a big difference between experiencing emotions and letting those emotions dictate behavior. Okay? So, these emotions are a visitor in our lives. So they can be welcomed, they can be given a seat at the table, but those emotions are not going to determine how I act, how I treat those people around me. They do not give me a right to behave badly. Never. Never, 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 never. It's understandable when people act out because of emotions that they are experiencing. It's understandable. And I believe it makes it a little easier to forgive. But it does not. We never, ever, ever have a right to let our behavior be negative or hurtful to others because of our experience. Never. Never, 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 never. Never. My grandma always said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And it's so, so true. We can be overwhelmed with emotion. We can be feeling angry. We can be feeling hurt. We can be feeling whatever it is. And that's okay to feel the emotions. But it is never okay to let words come out of your mouth or actions come out of yourself that are going to destroy or tear down or be hurtful to someone around you. Full stop. Sorry, I've got to rearrange because the floor of the car gets super, super hot when I'm just sitting here in the heat and I'm letting the car idle. It gets hot. Okay, look at this. The guy is here. This is a soccer field, and I used to hang out at this spot a lot. I've mentioned it in one of my shorts. And today is not Friday. Oh, I said, okay. So this soccer field has been abandoned or temporarily unusable, I'll say that, for whatever reason. It seems like that something has happened to the ground, that it's not safe. Like it looks like there's big holes, like almost sinkholes have opened up, and there's like caution tape everywhere. But see, way in the distance, let me see if I can show you. Right there, where my fingernail is a beautiful water fountain. But there's nowhere to park anywhere near that water fountain. So you have to park way here, and then you have to walk across the field. There's picnic tables over there, there's benches, all that stuff. But right now, you're not allowed on the field. There's signs that say you can't go there. So here I am at the park, and the water fountain is there. I can see it, but I can't get close to it right now because of whatever's wrong with the field. Okay. So sharing all that has helped me regulate my emotions. So the whole point of point number 2 is that there is a gap between feeling emotions and being okay with feeling them and letting them drive you and control you. So the goal then isn't to stop feeling and becoming emotionless. That's not the goal. That's the opposite, actually. We want to feel the feelings. But what we want to do is we want to widen that gap between the feeling and the behavior, the reaction that we have, so that we have the feeling, but our reaction becomes more and more and more appropriate over time. So that brings us to point number 3. And point number 3 is about the spiral nature of grief, right? So, like I said before, we would love it, especially us type A people, we would love it if we could just go through the checklist, complete all the steps, and check that off our list. I've grieved, I'm finished grieving, I'm done, woohoo, moving on to the next thing. Unfortunately, that is not how grief works. Grief comes back and bites you in the butt again and again and again. All the different feelings. I have felt angry in the last couple of days. Unbelievably angry at my partner. You know, like what possessed him to not see me and not be able to see the gift that I am? How can he not see that? How can he not appreciate that? It's so hurtful and makes me so angry, and provides an opportunity to forgive and be a better person. But man, it's so difficult. So difficult. And then I see the blue car, and then, you know, like I'm angry with him and I'm longing for him at the same moment. And then I'm mad at myself too. Ugh, you know, like all this craziness going on. Shoot. It's so much, would be so much easier to self-medicate or medicate at all. You know, like let's go to the doctor and get some Prozac or something, right? I have specifically given all of that up, by the way. When I had my open heart surgery, when I was done with the open heart surgery, I was on like, I don't know, 13 different medications. And I spent a lot of my time lining up pills and putting pills in little tiny boxes so that I would have them to take 2 or 3 times a day. And you know, like the more I kept swallowing those pills, the more depressed I became. I was just pushing emotions down. I was not helping or living with them or growing from them, none of it. So I made the decision for me, and I am not a doctor. I am in no way able to give any kind of medical advice. I'm just telling you my story. And in my story, continuing to put those pills down my throat twice a day was killing me. Even though my doctor told me that they were keeping me alive, it wasn't true for me, because I stopped taking all of those medications 3 years ago. 3 years ago. I have not taken one bit of blood thinners. I haven't taken any more Valium. I haven't taken any more Prozac. I haven't taken anything. Every once in a while, I take a baby aspirin. If the pain in my heart gets so bad, I will take a baby aspirin to try and help and not have a heart attack. But that's the extent of the medication. Well, sometimes Tylenol or Motrin. If I'm experiencing pain too, I will do that. But that's really the extent of the medication that I'm willing to take these days. So that's that. And so we're talking about that spiral nature of grief. And we want to get to the place where we understand that this is the nature of grief. It's not a box that we check and we are finished. It is not a straight line. It's a round and round and round and here we go again kind of a thing. So we might continue to end up in the same place. It feels like the same place again and again and again. For me, that place that I seem to get stuck in a lot is tears and sadness. But I have to believe, and I choose to believe, that every time I get back in that state, I am coming there a little tiny bit stronger. A little tiny bit stronger every time. I have to believe that. So, the takeaway here is that being in this stage of grief that feels overwhelming and feels so heavy, or that somehow I have failed. Man, there's another blue car. That somehow I have failed in checking off that box and being done is not accurate. It's not the truth. It doesn't mean that I have failed. It just means I'm human. And that's got to be okay. Right? I'm human. And it's okay. I am. It's okay. It's gotta be. I'm doing the best I can. And I believe that for most people. Obviously, you know, there's like people that are serial killers and whatever, right? And maybe they're not doing the best they can. I don't know. I haven't studied psychology enough to know that maybe they are just doing the best they can. I don't know. But I do know that most people are just trying to do the best they know how to do. And that has to be enough, right? Why are we doing this again? Unbelievable. Let's see. We might be back. Let me turn this down. I'm going to keep the phone there. I don't know if I can switch views or not. I don't think I can switch views in this moment. I don't know. Maybe I can. Okay, here I am, bigger. That's me. Here I am. All right, so I'm gonna see if we can get through this live stream. We'll flip the camera back around again. All right, up we go. Okay, and it's gonna start raining. So, all right, my phone is not a happy camper today at all. It is what it is. All right, so those were the 3 stages of grief. We've made it through all 3. And it is a good stopping point here. I'm going to ask you real quick before the phone overheats again and I freeze up again. I'm going to ask you real quick if you wouldn't mind if something I said today was helpful to you and you had someone in your life that you could share the broadcast with, share my channel with. I would really, really appreciate that. If we can get to 50 subscribers, I think it's going to change everything so that I won't keep having all of this stuff and hoops to jump through. It's going to make it so much easier. Until then, we will continue to power through and struggle on, because that's what I do. I'm not giving up. I refuse to give up. This is too important to me to give up. So if you could subscribe and share the show, that would be so helpful and so great. So I'm going to sign off for now. And I hope that you know how valuable you are. No matter where you are or what feelings that you're experiencing, I hope you know how valuable you are. I think that it would be really great today if we could, in spite of the feelings that we are experiencing, just try to remember that the people around us are also experiencing things. And if we can dredge up even the tiniest bit of kindness, empathy, compassion for those around us, not knowing what they're going through, that would be such a gift that we could give to ourselves and to those around us. So hopefully you can find that gift today and share it with someone else. That's what I'm going to try to do. I have a couple people in mind that are going to be the recipients of that gift right off the bat. So that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my day. Try to be loving and kind to those around me. And on that note, I'm going to head out. I'm sending you guys lots and lots of love. And again, if you ever need anything, please feel free to reach out. My email is caringconnectionswithfaith, all lowercase, at gmail.com. So feel free to reach out anytime. I love you guys. You guys are in my thoughts and my prayers. For those that may watch the replay, if you would just leave a comment, it would mean the world to me. It would be such a gift that you could give me just to say, hi, I watched. Would really mean the world to me. All right, so I'm out and I will be back on Thursday at 10:30 and I will catch you then. Lots of love to you all. Bye for now. Bye.